Hello. Welcome to my Lead What You Live podcast with Tina Lizzio. That's me. I'm here in the studio in Boca Raton, Florida. I hope you all are having a great summer. We're about to wrap up the end of the second quarter and halfway through 2025. I don't know where the time goes. I hope you all are doing well. And I have a friend and a special guest with me today, Christine Limuti. She's up in New England. She's coming to me on Zoom today. She is a fantastic mom of four, a beautiful woman, a wife, a mother. She's an entrepreneur. She is in finance. She is with Atrium Financial, and we are going to hear a lot from her about how to balance it all. How do we stay fit, focus on our finances, support four children in travel sports, maintain a connected, intimate marriage, all the travel, all the things. And so Christine absolutely is somebody that I identify as a leader in what she lives. So without further ado, Christine Limuti, thank you for coming to talk with me today on my Lead What You
Glad
Live
to be
podcast.
here. Yes, and I share the sentiment and all the powerful words shared right back at you.
Yes. So please tell us, I know that you were an athlete growing up, you were an athlete, and I want you to share with the viewers how sort of just a brief overview about your family dynamic growing up, sports, how you evolved into then family and children and being a very, very successful working mom of four and doing it
Yeah,
all,
sure.
making it look so easy.
It's all super. But I would say, for me, sports is it's like the great common denominator. And there's so much like research that supports this, right? Like in my line of work now, the three indicators of success and satisfaction into financial independence, financial freedom, retirement, however you want to coin the term, is number one, your well-being, community, and then wealth. And so, you know, as a youth, I was very competitive in nature, and that just kind of like thread through college. And now, as a professional, as a mom, how important it is to ensure that we are raising a next generation. Again, this is just, my philosophy that we share in our household, but how important it is to make sure that our kids are reaching for and committed to something and pushing hard and pushing through and just maintaining an overall well-being is so important. Just, there's so many research studies and things, I would challenge anybody to provide us with otherwise. But yes, the kids demonstrated, for me, that's up at 5 a.m. because otherwise it doesn't happen because the evenings are spent at the ball fields or the basketball courts, depending upon the season that we're in.
You have, is it three boys and a girl?
So totally flip. So my oldest, my son, and then I have
Three
three
girls and a
girls that
boy.
follow.
Okay. And how old are they? What are the ages?
Noah is 13, Isla is 12, and then I have a 6 and a 3-year-old.
Wow.
We
Amazing.
spread the gap.
Amazing. Right. From toddler to teen.
You couldn't have
Literally
said
from
better.
toddler to teen right
Yeah.
now.
It's the most wonderful. We're loving it. It certainly doesn't come with rest. I mean, however else to put that. But the older are so supportive of the younger ones are traveling on the weekends with us to go check out the games or whatever that looks and feels like. But overall, it's a busy season, but we've designed it and we can't complain.
Now, were you an entrepreneur before you had children? So you were an athlete growing up. You see the importance of, I understand too, having my children in travel sports and soccer and lacrosse, basketball, that has stayed with them. My kids are now, in their early 20s and two have just finished college. And that discipline, that sort of being part of team and all of the things that you get from being part of a team and the discipline that goes with it carried them so far in their academia, in their relationships, their friendships, partnerships. It's amazing already, at such a young age.
Well, I'll even say, like, my spouse and I, some of our closest friends are ones that are traveling with us. I mean, what a powerful, like, fundamentally teaching our kids fundamentals of like team building, self accountability, life is going to be hard. Life is not fair all the time. I mean, there's so many instances where we could say, okay, we didn't agree with what the coach called. Well, that's not my call. It's really easy to be a Monday morning quarterback, right?
Oh,
I
of
think
course.
there's, how easy that is. So I think by default, it's like, there's a lot of life lessons involved in that. And I think if it's not sports, it needs to be something, right? Like get the kids committed into something. And that's what's worked for us. And then now, my son is very committed to his sports. I was a competitive athlete. As you become an adult, you look for something else, and whether that be in your work or entrepreneurial endeavors, whatever it might be, there is no joy greater than I get to watch my kids do what they love.
Absolutely. So you initially you've had different businesses. I think you had a stint, you were in a restaurant business. Um, you've had other
Sure. Yeah, I can
entrepreneurial
share some details. So
ventures.
I started my career was in academia and entrepreneurship. So the entrepreneurship piece was we built restaurants and a restaurant portfolio plus franchises actually in the fitness concept. And I really ran the fitness side of our business portfolio. My husband really runs the restaurant side. I like to say he's my dreamer. I keep him in budget, right? And then he's kind of more the ops on that side. I built our businesses with the goal of exit, right? I had a really great business partner. We were in alignment in how we were building and how we showed up on our P&Ls and all of our balance sheets and all those things. My husband, his work is kind of a career. And so we treat it a little differently. And it's worked. I've pivoted to where we're still managing an entrepreneurial. For me, it's shifted a bit though, because originally it was opening up our own. And again, we still have the restaurant side. That's my husband's kind of career and joy. For me, I love my work as it stands currently as a comprehensive financial planner, private wealth advisor. I like to mentor women founders. I'm much more involved in like the venture space, but it's opening up businesses, but now as an investor. So there's been a shift.
Beautiful. And tell the viewers where you are with. Is it Atrium?
Atrium Financial Group, and we have offices New York, Capital District. We service people all over the country.
Yes. And so it's such a detailed, beautiful process that you also
Mm.
take individuals through to see how to best what makes it unique what you're doing now in terms of your work.
Yeah, I think it's a great question. We have seen the evolution of financial advising and planning, right? If you go back decades ago, it was very transactional. It's like, how much capital do you have? Where do you park it? People had pensions, kind of not a thing anymore. Individuals have to have a lot more ownership over funding their retirement. It's no longer the days. So, upstate New York, which is where I'm from, that's the age of Kodak, of Xerox, right? Some kind of like fundamental businesses, right? So, but pensions are a thing of the past. People aren't getting them anymore. And so individuals have to take a lot more stake in making decisions in terms of how they grow their capital outside of their 401ks. And so it's really important, depending upon your level of income, that you're making intentional and wise decisions. But the work that we do and what makes us, I think, really powerful is we've certainly been ones that believe in the power of marrying a financial plan with your investment strategy, your tax strategy. Tax planning is part of the cornerstone of our work. Your down market strategy, right? Your gifting, your charitable strategy, your estate strategy. So there's power in the plan, and it's an alignment of your value systems and your goals.
Ah, okay. And so and you're working now independently. You and your husband used to work sort of together in business. He's continued with that sort of entrepreneurship, and now you are in partnership with others in the financial arena.
Yeah, yeah. I work for a fantastic firm. I get the question a lot, like, why didn't you just go start your own firm? One, a firm found me, I found them. It was a great partnership. And I get to focus my time, my talents on what I fundamentally enjoy and what I'm good at. And then there are dedicated team members that help support the work that we do to level it up. So, that works really well for us in terms of the firm. We have a fantastic team. I couldn't do what I do without the strong team that's behind us. And then my husband continues to manages the restaurants. I sold out of the franchises, which was part of the plan. So built with an exit strategy in mind. And now I'm involved in entrepreneurial endeavors by one, servicing up, working and partnering with entrepreneurs, but then two, through this alternative space.
So how are you, which I love that you talked about support.
Mm,
We do not do this life alone, and
mm,
having support in our personal and professional lives is so for our businesses and in raising our children. It takes a village, they say.
it takes a
It
village.
takes a village. And so, how are you managing four children and at this wide age range, 3 to 13, you and your husband with your individual businesses? How do you manage it all? How do you find time for each other? What kind of support do you have? How do you manage all of it?
Yeah, so I think this concept of balance is, I mean, just this is my philosophy, is it's not something that I'm measuring or I'm seeking. And here's the reason why. I make choices every day, right? For example, we made the choice for Eastern time to spend our evening together, and I'm loving it. But that takes away from something else, right? And I think that you get this, where it's I don't have
Yes.
access time, right? Because I've chosen a life where I work a dream profession and I give a lot to my team and to my clients because I've chosen that, and then I give to my family, right? So if I choose to spend time in other ways, it's a constant choice. I like to say I try and create harmony, but it's different seasons present different kind of things. And so July is a really heavy travel month for me. I'm not going to be in balance. That's just the reality. But I have agreement with my family that I can go hard, understanding there's nothing more important than them. And I find the time I'm committed to the clients during the workday and during that time, but then off hours, I'm committed to my family. But it certainly takes a village. I have a supportive spouse. I think that's critical to the level of the work or the pace that I run. I have a really great team mentor. I think that's really important. And then I have family. I'm really fortunate that we have grandparents, in all honesty. When I travel and then my husband's on the road with one of our other kids, we have supports where I would not make the choices that I make in terms of travel if I didn't have the supports for my kids. Look forward to going to grandparents on the weekends or whatever that is.
Yeah, that's a really good point. When we talk about balance, like as balance being a goal, and I think that it is the way I see it is that it's always just being aware of when we
Mhm.
get out of balance. So it's sort of something to strive for that's an infinite game because there is always something that is going to take more priority than something
Right.
else on a day to day, season by season, year over year. I mean, I completed a divorce after an 11-year marriage, and my children were not quite 9, 7, and 5. So then I'm grateful to say that, we practiced conscious co-parenting over the years, shared custody, and even with this both working and travel sports schedule for the kids, figured it out. You want
You
to get
do.
something done, you ask a busy person. So somehow when you have more to do, you sort of figure it out and are more strangely productive, I guess, right? With
Oh.
so much to do and so much to figure out. But it's, Oprah talks about do what you have to do until you can do what you want to do. So sometimes that's the
Mm.
case in life.
Mhm.
I do believe that we can have it all. Absolutely. Just not necessarily all at the same time. And so
110%.
if
I
you
couldn't
can
agree more.
believe and understand there is no place to get to, there is no real destination, there is a direction, like we're headed somewhere. And you can reach the top of a mountain. And then once you reach the top of one mountain, it's like, okay, now let's look up at the next peak. So what's the next level? What's the next
Well, I
peak?
think that that's a challenge, don't
And
you
it's
think? Right? So,
ongoing.
like, I think about hyper productive people, right? And it sounds like, we found alignment in this where I'm I find joy in productivity, which is a blessing,
Yes.
but also
Yes.
it requires a ton of self-discipline for me to rest. And I'm not talking rest to like recharge. That's really important, well-being, right? You find your thing. For me though, it's like just sitting and resting and not feeling like I need to do more. As an entrepreneur, you can always give more. There's always more work to be done. And so, and your know, your ability, your growth is really somewhat self-dependent on what you're willing to give. And I guess my biggest challenge in this season is I like to run hard and fast. I believe that we can run intentional, right? It's like work smarter and harder. But there has to be a moment of pause because again, I want to demonstrate to my kids, like I believe we're called to work hard, but there's also something to be said for like giving back, being in the quiet, not expecting yourself to be constantly going where you can be bored. I mean, that's a problem, not just for the younger generation, like for me too.
Yeah, it really resonates most with me. The number one universal law and principle that I adhere to is that everything is energy. That understanding that everything is energy, and because everything is energy, my energy is everything to me. So, what are the things in terms of day to day? What am I putting in and on my body?
Love
Your
that.
diet, exercise, the conversations, the relationships that you have that you're nurturing and fostering, are self care. All
Okay.
of these things do make a difference. What are you watching? What are you listening to? What are we consuming? All of these things do impact our sense of well being. And so, when focusing on self care, I want to become the best version of myself
Mm,
because that can give more and I can make an impact, make a greater
sure.
impact if I have the energy, to do so.
And
So
show
if
up better as mom,
absolutely.
as colleague or peer, as a friend. It's so important.
So it's so important. So I realize the importance of fitness as you do,
Mm,
right?
mhm,
Especially as we get older, ladies out there, resistance training. I am a
mm.
yogi and it's not enough. It's not enough. So doing different types of exercises, playing sports, resistance training, because we can lose that like, bone density
Hugely
over
impactful.
time. And it's so important. And we're bombarded with our food. Of course, it doesn't matter even what kind of diet. I think it's just that sort of mindfulness about what we're doing, like paying attention. The two words that my
Yeah.
mother would say to me and my younger sisters growing up: I got two words for you for your success, just two words, no matter what path that you choose. Pay attention. Pay attention to what you are eating, what you are doing, your words, what you are speaking, the word, what others are doing and saying, and watch that fine print and watch your surroundings. If you just pay attention, it's like 99% of life is just
Really
paying
great.
attention. And with the pay
Wise
attention,
wisdom.
yes, and with the pay attention is then the productivity. So I love that you said that because I heard an interview. Actually, Grant Cardone was being interviewed
Mm,
and about his two daughters that are just lovely. They're, young teens and they are, if you've ever heard them speak, they're just,
very
they're
well-articulated
beautiful.
boys, incredibly mature. Mhm.
Very mature young ladies. And he was asked, well, you want your daughters to be happy, don't you? And he said, well, the goal is not happiness. The goal is productivity, is to see them being, productive members of society. And he
So I
said,
think that that's a good point.
I don't
Yeah, it's
know.
not.
And he said, I don't know any happy people that aren't productive.
Mhm.
So, not being productive really can lead to a sort of loneliness or depression or, other things. When we feel that we're productive, we're in purpose of something, right? There's an intention behind something, an engagement, and that with it can
Yeah,
bring the joy and fulfillment when we are engaged in life
agreed.
and
And I
productive.
think that we lose sight. It's interesting. So like in my work, it's we do actionable, executable steps, thoughtful, meaningful, but what's doable and meaningful. And I think a lot of times people experience this idea of like paralysis by analysis. Like, I won't give my time or my talents or my treasures until I have this much or I have this level of free time, whatever it might is. But this idea of just starting is really powerful. And I think when it comes to children, we encourage, we coach, we guide them to do a level of giving back in whatever capacity that looks and feels like, right? Whether that be your local food drive or, whatever it might be. But intentionality and purpose, do what's doable, and then you incrementally build.
Yeah, sort
And
of
there's such
reasonable
power.
for the individual, right? Because what I appreciate about what you do is it's not one size fits all. There are
Right,
general
right.
guidelines and things that work for many, yes,
Very
and
much.
each person's circumstances are is unique, is unique. And
Indeed.
so what would you advise? I mean, an individual says, "Hey, I've got, 100,000 or 500,000 or $1 million, to invest. I just sold a property." What's the first step?
So a trusted relationship with a really good planner advisor. So before anyone provides you with any recommendations, they should get to know you, your value systems, and your goals, because goals really dictate, right? So it's time horizon, it's the goal or the intention, it's tax treatment and time, time horizon to understand where do you park that capital in order to get a level of return based upon when you need to deploy it. I mean, I think that people lose sight of that. So, like, first step would truly just be start having conversations, talk to your girlfriends. I mean, I think it's such an interesting thing. Women, there is this huge charge toward having agency, literacy, leading with information and knowledge of being stewards of our wealth, right? This conversation is a great wealth transfer is coming. I'd like to say it's here, right? There's been a huge shift in conversations. Powerful women. And when I say powerful, it doesn't necessarily matter your role, your industry, right? By saying, I'm going to take agency over how I spend, how I save, how I invest in alignment with my value systems and my goals. And there's research that tells us like how women tend to give, how women tend to spend. It's a question of, okay, what's our cash position? What are our expenses coming down the pipeline? How far are we out from retirement? How much do you have saved for retirement? There are so many pieces that go into that to make sure that, again, you steward that wealth responsibly. It would be irresponsible, and I would run for the hills if you found someone was like, okay, great, I'll take that 1 million and I'll go park it over here. It's like, you know nothing about me. You have no idea what my goals and my value systems are, right? You know nothing about my children. I think that that's really important. Back to our earlier conversation of this evolution of this type of work, it's gone from transactional to a much more intimate, personalized planning
Yes.
exercise. And we refresh it. It needs to be, I mean, we're in a current ecosystem that there's so much noise, right? And again, we can have another conversation another day. We had a true economics, correction. We have not yet beat the fundamental features of an economic cycle, right? Back to Econ 101, peak, valley, trough. The reality is we also have a lot of noise in the ecosystem right now, right? Tax policy, tariff policy, immigration, geopolitical. Shareholders like predictability. And so there's a lot of unknowns. And so we're seeing a level of volatility. It would be irresponsible if someone gave you advice without really understanding, because if you have to pull it or deploy it, you're risking, and there's data to support that.
Yeah, I appreciate what you're saying there. It's also that category of as an advisor, and in your case, as a financial advisor, and even in that life strategy coaching that I do, nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care. So,
110%.
so we've heard that sort of statement, but it's so true. Have you listened to me to know what it is, what my interests are, what my concerns are, what my values and my goals are, as opposed to just going into the strategy, the consulting part of things. That's why I say that
Honor
I'm
the
both coach
days.
and consultant, coach and
Agreed.
consultant. So
Yeah.
it's that discovery and exploration, and then we can devise the right path, plan, process,
Yes.
strategy,
Yes.
for
Yeah.
you. And so I appreciate that you do go through that process. That is unique. And so women, yes, things have changed, being with also in real estate, mortgage financing as well. I see that, and we see statistically, it used to be the couple was the largest purchaser of residential real estate, and now it's the independent woman. So whether it's the millennial females are purchasing, women are purchasing before their male peers, who will still continue to rent, let's say, they want that sort of security earlier. And so they're purchasing. Post divorce, men might go rent, women want to, well, I need the house, I want the house, or they want to go buy something. Even after the marital home is sold.
Mhm.
And then again, women are still living longer than men. So you see women who are widows, and so they're
Hugely
again.
so.
So whether you're millennial or you're Gen X or you're baby boomer, it seems to be women across the board are still caring about the security and the responsibility of it. How do you see men and women different in risk tolerance?
Mhm. It's an interesting conversation. I think it's really intentional of the types of questions that we need to ask. Like, we have a responsibility, right? I think that my work as an academic and entrepreneur helps resonate, and I really just consider myself a researcher, right? I need to be good at collecting data and asking questions to extract like really truly what are your goals and what are your kind of biggest barriers to accomplishing or stewarding your wealth in a responsible way. I think that when we see gone are the days where we see like the women sitting in the corner and allowing, that just doesn't happen as much anymore. And one, that's because we encourage all parties to be a part of that
Of course.
conversation. Family dynamics and partnerships look different now too. Women tend to view capital different. I think that that's really powerful. So what does the data tell us? Women tend to, in terms of like giving and transfer, gender gap inequities, education, environmental changes, right? Women tend to like to know how their money's making impact or being put into work. That's what the data tells us. So when you think about how we steward that wealth, there are strategies to deploy depending upon what you're again looking to accomplish.
Right.
And it's a really interesting, I had conversations with folks in investment, like institutional investment. And the events that they book for women in major metro are different than the events that they book for men. And it's just because, again, women tend to view capital. I'm not saying it's better or worse,
Right.
but we have a responsibility to make sure we have agency over how we're going to steward our wealth during our lifetime and
You
beyond.
hear that, ladies?
Very
Yes,
important.
absolutely. Christine, thank you so much. I know you've got to get to the kids to have that balance of wrapping up your day and giving that time to the family is so important. So thank you for taking the time to come
Thank
and
you for
talk to
having me. It's
me.
been a
And
delight. I
again,
enjoy it. Coffee side.
Christine Limuti, Atrium Financial Partners. You can find her there and absolutely contact her to get in particular a consultation with her about your portfolio.
Delighted.
Yeah, and alternative investments. So it was really very impressive. I had my first career was on Wall Street. So after meeting Christine and seeing her process and hearing about that, I felt that it really was unique. And there was that really saying, I need to get to know who this person is, before me and what their values and goals are before we come up with a plan. And that
Love it.
was unique. So thank you for that. And so it's to be continued.
I enjoyed it. Thank
Have
you
a
so much for having me.
fantastic summer with those kids.
We
I'll
will.
be in
Thank you.
touch.
You too.
Thank you.